I literally just forgot to film an intro for this video, so hello, my name is Maddie, or Books with Maddie, and today I'm seeing how many books I can read over my spring break. Okay, so I am making a vlog seeing how many books I can read in my spring break. I'm starting today. It is Thursday, March 24th is the day that I'm starting. I'm starting on a Thursday because all of my classes have been canceled today and tomorrow because there was a bomb threat at my school today and we had to evacuate campus. Everyone is fine. They think it was not a true threat, but they're not sure yet, so they just canceled classes today and tomorrow. So I started today. It is about 9 p.m. now, but I started earlier today, so I am pretty behind in my TBR this year. I am 7 books behind. On track to read 100 in this year, and I don't want to have to crunch at the end of the year like I did last year, so I want to get ahead of the game, or at least caught up. But right now I'm reading Written in the Stars. I don't have like a specific goal for this week of how many books I want to read. Hang on. Is it sliding slowly? Yeah. I've got a new tripod situation where it's, okay, listen, get this. It has 2 stems coming out of it. One is a tripod holder and one is a ring light. So we're gonna try out this ring light and see what happens. It has a little control thingy. Oh, wow, it is bright. Okay, that's really bright. Hang on, I think I can. I look like a ghost. Is this anything? You can change like the tones. This is like more yellow. This is like white, and this is like grayish. I think this will be helpful for when I'm filming with just like my Christmas lights on, and it's always like my face is like buried in shadows. So like I was saying, back to books. Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur. I don't really know how to pronounce the name. This is a romance, fake dating, enemies to lovers kind of situation. This was a book that was picked for my book club in February. I'm very far behind in my book club reading, but I literally could not get into it for the life of me. So I like was stuck at like 9% for like the longest time, and the audiobook finally became available on Libby, and so I got that, and then I just like chugged out 2 hours of my life just listening to the audiobook and reading the book along with it so that I could listen to it on 3 times speed. And so I got like pretty, it's like more than halfway. I'm really not enjoying it very much, to be completely honest. I feel like this book is so highly recommended, but it's so cliche and tropey. I feel like it doesn't really do anything super original. It's a little bit disappointing because I had really high expectations for it. So I'm gonna try to finish this tonight. I have to do some cleaning, and so I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook while I do that cleaning. And then next I'm gonna try to get through The House on the Cerulean Sea. I started that, but like 10 pages maybe, so I'm gonna try to get through that next. I'm really excited for this challenge. I think it'll really motivate me. I love challenges like this to like see what I can do. I do have a couple of things going on this week that will probably not let me read for a couple days, but other than that, like I do have a pretty open week. Yeah, I'm really excited to start this, and I will update you when something new has happened and I have made progress. There we go. I just finished Written in the Stars by Alexandra Bellefleur. I gave it a solid 3 out of 5 stars. I felt super tropey, and there were so many pop culture references. I never like pop culture references in books. It like significantly lowers the rating for me if there's a lot of pop culture references. Elle was like I loved her personality and everything, but she was very, like, they just tried to really shove down your throat that she knew a lot of pop culture things. I really am tired, and I'm starting to get a headache, so I'm not having super comprehensive thoughts right now, but this is 1 book down in this thing I'm doing. I realized also that I'm also reading Great or Nothing by Joy McCullough, Tess Sharp, and 2 other authors that I can't remember the name of. It's a Little Women retelling in World War II. Takes place in World War II, but is a retelling of Little Women. I'm so tired. It's literally like 10 p.m. Like, it's not that late. I don't know if I'm gonna do any more reading tonight because I'm so tired and I have to do some editing, and I might do that instead. I'm just gonna end it here, I guess, for the night. I'll let you know if I read any more. Goodbye. Wait. Okay. Bye. Hello. Today is the 25th of March. It's been a day since I've last filmed. I have not been able to do much reading today because I've been out running errands and stuff, but what I have been reading is Great or Nothing by Joe McCullough, Tess Sharp, Jessica Sportswood, something like that. I don't know, and there's one more author. I'm gonna remember all the names of the authors, and I also want to figure out which author wrote which part, because it's 4 authors. There are 4 sisters, and each author takes a different sister. So I'm gonna like talk about what I'm thinking so far. I'm a little bit past 40% at this point. I've been reading it on my phone because I got an ARC from NetGalley, so I don't know exactly how many pages that is. It's hard to review books written by multiple authors because some narratives I like better than others. Some people's writing styles I like better than others. I don't know who wrote which part, so I am going to put the name up here of the author when I figure out who wrote which part while I'm talking about that sister. So the only one that I know is that Joy McCullough writes Beth's perspective. If you are like really invested in Little Women and don't want anything at all spoiled, then I guess skip past this part, but like this is not I feel like everybody knows this at this point, but if you don't want literally any spoilers whatsoever, like skip past this part, I guess, and I'll put like a timestamp when you can start listening again, but it's like, I'm pretty sure everybody knows this. But okay, so Beth dies, obviously, in Little Women. This takes place, though, this is not a retelling from like the beginning of the narrative of Little Women, so like in this book, Beth is already dead, and Joe, Amy, and Meg have gotten all in the fight, and they're all like in separate places. So it's not like exactly the same as Little Women. So Joy McCullough writes Beth's perspective, and Joy McCullough is one of my favorite authors literally ever. She writes really strongly in poetry and prose, and because she's writing literally from a dead person, she's writing entirely in prose in order to translate that difference between the narratives. Beth is not just writing, you know, something that's happening to her. She's like almost writing in response to that are happening in her sister's lives. It is by far my favorite part of the whole book is Joy McCullough's portions, or Beth's portions. I love Joy McCullough's writing. The other ones I feel like are a little less strong. So the weakest I think is Joe's, which I feel like is a real shame. I don't know who wrote that, so I'm gonna put the name up here when I find out. I really think that the writing is like very choppy, very juvenile, and this is a YA book, but it feels very middle grade the way that it's written, and I'm just like really not a fan of the writing style of it. The cool thing about this book though is I feel like each of the different sisters do have a distinct style, which is nice because they don't blend together. You know, sometimes when there's like multiple authors writing different characters, the characters can really easily blend together, and that's not an issue with this book. Amy and Meg's I feel like are both pretty strong. I think they're both really interesting and very well written. At this point, I probably wouldn't give it 5 stars. I'd probably give it closer to 4 or 4.5 just because of the way that Joe is written. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say for now. I'm definitely like enjoying it. I'm really loving it. It's definitely a very, very cool book and a really interesting way of further developing the characters. I'm hoping to get farther in it tonight, but I do have plans tonight, so I don't know how much farther I'm gonna get. But yeah, I would love to be able to finish it. I have not read any more of The House in the Cerulean Sea. That's literally it for right now. If I read any more, I will update you. Okay, bye. Okay, hello. Today is Today is March 28th. It is Monday. I have not filmed in a couple days. 2 days maybe. So I'm just gonna catch you up. Okay, honestly, like, I was obsessed with this ring light, but I don't know how to use it properly. Like, definitely not doing something right. Okay, it's fine. So basically, what happened? Saturday, did not read it all. The last time I filmed was Friday. Saturday, I didn't have any time to read. Sunday, I did a lot of reading. I finished Great or Nothing by Joy McCullough, Tess Sharp, Jessica Spotswood, and Caroline Tung Richmond. If I got all of those right, everybody owes me $10. I finished Great or Nothing, and so I'm going to talk about that a little bit, and then I'm going to go on to what I'm reading next. I gave it 5 stars, well, technically 4.5, but I have it on Goodreads as 5. That made it worse. I don't know why. I just really want to use my ring light, guys. It is what it is, people. Last I talked, I had very different opinions than I have now. Out of the 4 narrators, I think Jo is still my least favorite. It's Tess Sharp is the author, which I'm pretty surprised about because I feel like she's... Oh, I'm getting so frustrated with this. I was really surprised because Tess Sharp is like pretty well acclaimed, I feel like. But yeah, she was Jo's narrator, which was the one that I was talking about a little bit earlier. I didn't love the way that hers was written. I loved Jo's storyline and everything that she did in the book. Like, I loved her character. It was the writing style that I think kind of threw me, but I really liked it's still sliding. Okay. Okay. Beth's was obviously my favorite, and then Amy's, and then Meg's, and then Jo's. That's my order of writing style, actually. As far as whose storyline was my favorite, probably Amy's, then Jo's, then Meg's, and Beth didn't really have a storyline, obviously. I really thought that this book was like beautifully done. I think it is going to be slightly polarizing. When I was reading the reviews, they were either like high 4 stars or like 2 stars. The beginning of the book is definitely pretty slow, which is I think the biggest flaw of this book, is that the pacing is just a little off. I think the beginning took a little bit too much time in the setup, and then the ending felt really rushed and abrupt, and I think it was done purposefully. I think the ending was ended where it did purposefully. I kind of wish that there had been a little bit more room for resolve in the end, but I think that's really a personal opinion. I think somebody could have really enjoyed how the ending was and, you know, not have any complaints about it. But I do have a full review on my Goodreads that you can see. It's an arc, and I always do very comprehensive reviews for arcs, so that will be up, and I'll put it in the description, a link to it if you want to read my full thoughts on it. There's no spoilers or anything. So next we have The House on the Cerulean Sea and All the Light We Cannot See. That's funny, they both have the word sea, but different words. I've started both of them. I'm not attached to either of them yet in the way that's like I gotta read this one first. I was planning on doing The House on the Cerulean Sea next. The reason that I started All the Light We Cannot See is because I requested the audiobook for it yesterday, and I was like, okay, it'll take a couple weeks to come in, so it'll be a little bit delayed, but like I want to read this book. It came in a day later. Like, I have it today, so I was like, I might as well start it. It's like 16 hours, so I think I'm going to prioritize this one a little bit because I do want to get that one done before the audiobook expires in 7 days. So yeah, these are the 2 that I'm going to be working on next. I'm literally like 2% of the way through both of them, so I don't really have any comprehensive thoughts on them yet. I definitely will be reading this one along with the audiobook, because when I was just listening to the audiobook earlier, I just felt like I wasn't getting the full experience. So that's basically all I have to say for right now. I don't have much going on tonight, so I do plan on having more time to kind of get through this. The other thing I wanted to talk about, because I think this is really cool, and I can't believe I haven't talked about this on my channel yet, is this blanket that I'm making. This was my cousin's idea, so this is not my idea, but I don't know if you guys have seen those like mood blankets that people do every year. I'm doing a mood blanket, but some people also do temperature blankets where it's like every day they put a certain color that represents either a certain mood or a certain temperature or whatever. My cousin came up with the idea to do a book blanket, so for every genre you assign a color, and then each row represents a book that you've read, and so you crochet a new row onto a blanket, and the color of the yarn that you use is based on the book genre that you read. So I have been doing that. I've been kind of catching up this week, so I'm going to be showing some blanket progress. I'm not fully caught up yet. So the pink represents romance, science fiction, I believe this is thriller, fantasy, romance. Beige are classics. There's a lot of beige because I'm in school right now. This is essay collections, classic, horror, classic. Purple is nonfiction, classic, fantasy, and then romance. And the cool thing about this blanket is I don't do this for my mood blanket, but every row or every couple rows is a new stitch. So I'm learning a lot of new stitches while I do it as well. I will have the pattern that I use linked in the description below because this isn't my own pattern. But I will say the pattern is a little bit difficult to follow and understand, for me at least. Maybe I'm just dumb, but it was kind of challenging for me to follow and everything. So I want to also be posting like some blanket updates for you as I go through this. I did kind of mess up the edge here, so it's like a little wonky, but like I love her. She has character and she's pretty long, so it takes me a while to get through every row. So that's why I was so behind. I've read 17 books this year. I'm on book 15 or no 16. This is Written in the Stars. This is Where Dreams Descend. This is Written in the Stars, and then I have one more, which is Great or Nothing, that I have to catch up on, and then the next will either be, hopefully, one of these. So yeah, I'm really happy with this, and I'm going to be showing you some progress as I go in making this, and I'll show you when I add in Great or Nothing. I think that'll be like an orangey color. That's really exciting. Okay, goodbye. Okay, it has been quite a few days since I have filmed. I have been way busier than I expected to be. I got my hair cut and dyed again. It's pretty much the same color as before, but a little bit more purple. I do have some reading updates. It is currently the 31st / the 1st. It is like midnight on the 31st, so like it's April 1st, but I was staying up late to finish All the Light We Cannot See because I wanted to finish this in March. It was on my March TBR and it was one that I really wanted to get to. I have like slight regrets choosing such a thick book to read this week because I could have been reading like I could have read 2 books in the time that I read this one, because it did take me 3 days to get through, which is 3 days where I wasn't reading any other books. But I did finish it and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, sorry for that kind of abrupt cut. The rest of the footage of that clip got corrupted, unfortunately, which is really sucky, but it is what it is. I need to get more reliable filming equipment. So basically what I said is that I loved All the Light We Cannot See. I gave it 5 stars. Instead of just like repeating what I said in that, the video that I post after this will be my wrap up for the months of February and March, and I have all of my thoughts for All the Light We Cannot See in that video. So if you are very curious about what I thought about that book, you can go to that video once it's posted and kind of see what I thought about it. But my thoughts are, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was 5 stars. I didn't cry, but I got close. There were some interesting things that I found in that book that I'll leave you to watch the wrap-up if you're interested in, because I think that book was very different from any of the other World War II books that I've read, and I talk about that more in the wrap-up. But I'm not going to worry about saying it all here because I am exhausted. I'm filming this on the last day of my break, so I am like exhausted trying to finish homework and stuff. But the only other thing that I said that it was kind of important because it required context for the next couple clips is that my goals for the rest of the week are as follows, which were to read Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu, because I have the audiobook for this one at this point. It's pretty short and it's on my April TBR, so this is one that I want to get done. Call Us What We Carry, also on my April TBR, and also it's short and poetry, so it's something that I can get through quick and kind of mixes up the format that I'm reading. And then finally Little Fires Everywhere, which is both a book club book for the month of April for my book club and also on my April TBR, and this is another one that I want to get through. I can't remember at this point of the vlog if I had started it yet. I don't think so, but I do have the audiobook for Little Fires Everywhere, and I will talk about that a little bit more later in the vlog, so stay tuned. I apologize again that the footage got corrupted, and so that wasn't my genuine thoughts and reactions and everything that was going on in that moment. So those are the goals for the rest of the week, is to finish 3 more books. Okay, it has been a couple days again since I have filmed because I am literally the worst. Basically, a little update. I think the last time I updated you was Thursday when I finished All the Light We Cannot See. So I finished another book. We have finished Batman Nightwalker, Marie Lu. I started this on the 31st. Today is April 2nd, so it took me about 3 days. I did have the audiobook. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was like pretty average. I read the first book in the GC Icons, Wonder Woman 1. I absolutely loved it. I think there was a lot more action, a lot more intrigue. I felt like the first like 40% was like very low intrigue, low action, until like maybe 50% of the way through, and then I feel like the climax was like at 60%. I don't know, it was super average. It was 3 stars. I mean, it's Marie Lu, and I love her writing style and everything, so I thought the writing style was like well done and everything. I just think it didn't seem like she wasn't working with a lot, or there just wasn't a lot of ideas. It felt like a very basic storyline, fairly predictable. It's like one of those things that, like, if I hadn't read it, I wouldn't feel like I was missing out on anything, which is kind of sad to say because it's Marie Lu, but yes. And then yesterday I also started Call Us What We Carry by Amanda Gorman. This is for my April deck of TBR. I'm absolutely loving these so far. Usually with poetry collection, well, usually, I mean, I say this all the time, usually I don't like poetry, especially poetry that is written like modern day poetry. I have no interest in reading modern day poetry. I have pretty much sworn off any modern day poetry. There's only one poetry collection that I've read that was published in the last like 10 years that has gotten 5 stars for me, or anything above like 2 stars. I do not do modern poetry. I don't even really like past poetry. So I was gifted this book, and I was like hesitant to pick it up because I have very strong opinions about modern poetry, but I have been absolutely adoring it. I feel like this goes a little bit beyond poems and poetry because there is so much historical context and information that is translated through other ways that aren't just like verse and other quotes that are, it almost feels like just a collection of ideas, like almost like a palimpsest of history and thoughts and ideas. And so it feels a little bit bigger than poetry, which I think is amazing. I am not done with it yet, though. I am probably a little bit past 50%. This is what I've read. This is what I have to go. Is it sliding again? Is it sliding again? It's been taking me a little bit longer to get through this collection because I've been annotating it. I highly recommend this, but I will say it centers around the pandemic. Like, the entire thing is about the pandemic, which is a lot. I feel like I wish I had read this maybe a year ago when I was in the pandemic. Obviously, I'm guessing she was writing this during the pandemic, and so it wouldn't have been published or existed fully in that time. I feel like we don't realize how surreal it is to live through a pandemic until reading something like this, where she's comparing it to, you know, the 1918 Spanish flu and everything, and it's just a very weird experience, and one that I'm enjoying, but I just wish that I'd known in the moment how surreal it would have felt after it, or not even after it, but at the end of it, hopefully. And this book is doing weird things to my brain and to my emotions because it is bringing up so many different like ideas and thoughts that I hadn't really fully fleshed out, that I didn't know that were inside of me almost, about the pandemic. And so it is very cool. I would recommend going into it with caution. Like, if the pandemic is a very sensitive topic for you, I would recommend going into it with caution because it talks a lot about grief and loss, and those are something that we all experienced, some of us more and some of us less, but all of us experienced throughout the pandemic. And so it talks a lot about that, and so those can be very triggering topics for some people, especially because we are still within the parameters of the pandemic, and so we are still living through some of this. Very surreal experience to read this, though, and I'm planning on hopefully finishing it tonight because tomorrow is Sunday, my last day of break, so it is the last day for me to do this reading challenge. And what I plan to read and hopefully finish is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I did start this today. I don't know that this bookmark is in the right spot because I was reading it and then I ended up switching to the audiobook so that I could crochet, which I'm going to talk about that in a second in my book blanket. And so I don't know that this is accurate, but I believe I'm about 20-ish% of the way through. So I'm about 70 pages in. I am obsessed with it so far. I am literally loving it way more than I thought I would. I thought I would like it because it's so popular and everything, so I always expect, like, if it's a best-selling book and whatever, that I expect to like it if it's that highly acclaimed. And I'm enjoying it so much. I feel like this lighting is really weird. I want to change the tone of the light because I can now. We're going with this now. I've chosen it. Live with it. So, yes, I'm absolutely loving this. I really can't wait to keep reading it. I'm hoping to get more done tonight because I'm going to be crocheting more, which now I'm going to talk about my book blanket because I actually totally forgot that I shared that with you guys in this video. And so I wanted to kind of update you with where I'm at because I am nearly caught up with it. This is what it looks like right now. I honestly don't remember when I showed it to you and what it looks like then, and how different that is from what it looks like now. So this is the bottom. This is the row that I'm currently working on. I feel conflicted about it. I love this section with the white and the red and the tan. I think that's a really cool aesthetic, and I honestly want to make a whole blanket of those colors. I think it'll be really interesting to see how my reading genres changes, because I tend to fixate on genres and like get in genre moods and then just like read a bunch of that genre. And that definitely happened at the end of last year with romance, so there is like the tail ends of that in this year. And then obviously school starts here when I'm having to read a bunch of classics, and then I've been really into historical fiction, which is this reddish color. This is actually 2 rows, so it looks like one, but this is just 2 rows of double crochet. And what I'm currently adding on is the Batman book. This is Granny Stripe, and I have not quite finished the row yet. Then hopefully if I finish this tonight, I will be able to add that on. I don't remember what color poetry is, but yeah, I think it'll be fun if I do more of these like casual type of vlogs throughout the year to show you guys the progress on my book blanket. It is a very strange shape right now, and I'm not quite sure why it's drooping that way. My tension definitely changed from the beginning of the year, and I'm doing it a lot looser now, which is making the edges a little bit funky. And these are stitches, some of these stitches I've never done before, so this is just one giant crochet experiment, and I'm gonna be fine with however it turns out. It's gonna be great. So that's the energy. I mean, it's so mismatched. I think it's so funny. I'm like trying to tell myself that it's funny and not ugly. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. I'm gonna go back to reading Call Us What We Carry. I'll be back tomorrow for the final day, the final tally of all the books that I read over my spring break and everything. And that's all I have to say. Okay, goodbye. Okay, it is the final day of this project. It is Sunday night, so tomorrow I'm going back to school. I am so sad. I finished Call Us What We Carry last night, and I absolutely loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It was really leading towards a 5-star read for me, and then at the end it fell apart a little bit for me personally. There's a section in this book where Amanda Gorman takes letters and journal entries and things like that, and she kind of rearranges them into like poetry, kind of. I thought it was a really interesting concept, but just very not for me. I really did not like that part of the book, but the rest of it I absolutely adored, and her last couple poems are incredibly powerful. There was just that section, and it went on for quite a while, and so that kind of bumped down a star for me, but obviously I think the rest of it was absolutely incredible, and I highly, highly recommend it. I will talk about this book more, obviously, in my wrap-up and go through more of the thoughts, but this won't be in my February, March wrap-up. This will be in my April wrap-up because I'm reading it technically in April. The fact that my spring break took place over the transition of the month is like throwing me off in a very major way, and I don't like it. Next, we have Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This is not done, okay? And it's, what time is it? It's late. It's 11:38. So I'm not finishing this tonight. I'm just gonna put that out there. I don't know what page I'm on because I have been solely listening to the audiobook at this point because I have been incredibly busy today. This looks like about 50% of the way through, maybe a little bit more. I do plan on listening to a little bit more of it tonight. I'm going to say that I read, oh my gosh, I should have like tallied up the books that I read before I started filming. I'm going to count this as a book read, and you might think that's cheating, but it's not, and this is my justification for it. Is because for school tonight, I had to read 2 chapters of Bell Hooks' book, Ain't I a Woman, which was like many pages, like maybe 200 or so pages. So if I combine that, like I don't think there's even 200 pages left in this. So I'm counting it as a book read, and I'm going to read more of it tonight, and I'm going to try very, very hard to finish it tomorrow. But let me see how many books I read. We've Written the Stars, which we finished on day 1. Great or Nothing, All the Light We Cannot See, Batman Nightwalker, Calls What We Carry, Little Fires Everywhere / Ain't I a Woman by Bell Hooks. That is 6 books, and I'm very impressed with myself. I did not think I was going to finish 6 books over by break. That was like, I thought I would get maybe 3 or 4 in, but the fact that I read that much is a huge accomplishment, especially because in the first couple months of the year I was in a huge slump, and I only read like 5 or so books in February, and I've already read 3 basically. I mean, 2.5 in April, which is, like, it just makes me feel so much better about my reading, and the fact that all 3 of the books that I read were on my April TBR gives me such hope for the rest of this month, because I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you've seen my April TBR, and what a disaster that was. I have good, high hopes for the rest of this month, and the fact that I'm going to freaking get that TBR done. Although, to be fair, I wasn't having to read anything else for classes this week except for Anna, Woman by Bell Hooks. That is the end of this vlog. Thank you so much for watching. I love doing little vlogs like this. If you're interested in seeing more, if you liked this format, let me know. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. And I hope you have a great life. And I will see you very, very soon. Bye-bye.